As a citizen of the United Kingdom, I love a good cup of tea as much as the next Brit. There's nothing quite like relaxing with a cuppa and a custard cream. But here's a question. How do I make a cup of tea not my cup of tea? Answer? Get rid of the biscuits, stick the tea on a puzzle, and build it as fast as you can.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, puzzle!
Hi, welcome to Vicky Makes and Builds. What is this video about? Yeah, you've guessed it. This is my recap for the UK Nationals 2025, which took place at the beginning of April. Now, this competition was special for a few reasons, but most notably because it is the first official UK national competition organised by the newly formed UK Jigsaw Puzzle Association and recognised by the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation. Now, prior to the forming of the UKJPA, there was not much of a speed puzzling scene in the UK, and the biggest competition was an annual event down in Newmarket in England and sponsored by Gibson's. It was kind of accepted at the time that this was the national competition, and it was a popular and fun event, and still is. And it will be taking place again this year, as it has done for the past several years. Now, I took a bit of a dive into the history of the Newmarket competition last year when I attended with Jeanette. I even built the very first competition puzzle from that event, just to see how I would get on with it. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, I'm going to link that video in the description below and you can go and have a look at that. But we are here today to talk about this competition this year in April. So how did I get on? So I'm going to do this video as kind of a travelogue type of thing because I want to give my personal experience of the whole trip. But obviously I will also let you know about important details such as who won. So for me, the UK Nationals began as many of these kinds of trips do, and that was with a train journey. I live in central Scotland and the UK Nationals were being held in a place called Bradford in England, which is some 217 miles from me as the crow flies. Because of this, it was going to be a weekend trip with my children in tow. All my puzzle essentials were packed, including my trusty Art and Fable box lid, which is currently holding this box lid up here. I bought some practice puzzles and my Vicky Makes and Builds t-shirt that I had printed especially for the event. But perhaps most importantly, I packed my lucky jigsaw puzzle piece headband. What else could I be forgetting? Well, according to Grace, him. Here he is, curled up in my suitcase. Now, the train journey was pretty long and uneventful, so not much to tell on that score. I occupied myself by attempting to upload videos in spotty signal areas, but otherwise I just ate snacks and played games on my iPad. We got a taxi to our hotel, which was a little bit out in the sticks, but very nicely situated. The kids particularly loved this swinging bench, and the weather was really lovely for the entire weekend. We mostly chilled when we arrived, but I did attempt a practice on this red lionfish Ravensburger puzzle. It was actually not as tough as I thought it was going to be, but I did actually stop timing myself after a while because it was quite late at night. I was tired, the kids were both asleep, we were all shattered from the train journey, and also the lighting in the room was just terrible. We just had a lamp, you know, on a desk, and it was a glass top on the desk as well, so that was kind of reflective, and it was dark outside, so there was no natural light. I couldn't feasibly do it any justice speed-wise, so I just enjoyed putting it together. Now, we arrived on the Friday, and the next day was competition day. I was excited and nervous all at once, but the kids and I enjoyed a yummy breakfast, and I was feeling happy because the kids had agreed to actually come to the venue with me and be there while I puzzled. That actually meant more to me than I think they realised, to be honest with you. Anyway, we booked a taxi to get us there and we were among the first to arrive. They weren't letting anyone in yet, so we waited as the queue grew behind us. Like all good British people, I am not one to let a good queue go to waste. So I enjoyed doing a little bit of meeting and greeting instead. I was thrilled when Richard and Alex came to say hi to me. Richard is one of my members, so I knew he was going to be there, but obviously I don't know what a lot of people look like, so he came and said hi, which was lovely. And that was followed shortly by a guy called Kieran, who was there with a group of fellow Irish people, including Siobhan, another one of my members who I actually have met at the Worlds in 2023. I went to go and say hi to her and was thrilled also to be introduced to Emma Quirk and her dad Darren and a lady called Julie. And then I went back and I stood with my kids while we waited for them to open the doors. So here is the part of the day where I got to grab my bag of goodies, because as we went in, we had to register for the solo competition, which was going to be first at 12 o'clock. We were given this lanyard, which had the Ravensburger logo on it and the UK Nationals logo, and it had a handy QR code on the back, which I'll talk about a little bit more later on. We also got a UK Nationals 2025 pin and a Ravensburger box stand, which I am currently using to hold up the box lid here. It's very, very bright and gradient. I love it. So I picked one of those up too. And then we went to go and have a look around. Now, the event took place at a school, the Woodhouse Grove School, which is a big, beautiful private school that's situated on lovely, big, beautiful grounds. The competition was being held downstairs in a sports hall, and up some stairs there was a Ravensburger pop-up shop. There was a merch stand where you could buy some clothing. There was a TV on the wall where you could sit and watch the live stream. And there was a viewing balcony which overlooked the sports hall where the competition was actually happening, which was absolutely a brilliant thing for the spectators. There was also an outside balcony where you could just sit and enjoy the lovely weather. This was also the area where you could meet and greet the puzzle artists, but of course we didn't know yet at this point who they were. But before I reached the stairs to go up there, I was greeted by a lady called Sarah. Now, Sarah is my saviour, and I will explain what I mean by that. So when I arrived at the hotel on Friday, in the evening, I got my backpack out and I was packing it with the things I was going to take with me on the day. One of those things was my lucky jigsaw puzzle piece headband. I was gutted when I realised that the middle piece, and these pieces are just glued on. I literally bought a headband and glued jigsaw pieces onto it. The middle piece had fallen off and I had no glue with me to stick it back on. It looked really silly without the middle piece, and I was so frustrated because I really wanted to take it with me and wear it. It felt like kind of a lucky thing that I do now tend to take with me when I'm doing any kind of speed puzzling. So I actually posted a picture of the broken headband on my Instagram, and Sarah saw the picture and said, I'm staying in a place next to a WH Smith, which is like a stationery store over here in the UK. And she said, if you want, I can get some glue and I can bring it to you tomorrow. So I was like, that would be so great. Thank you so, so much. So Sarah found me. She handed me the glue. Thank you so much, Sarah. I really do appreciate that. Still have the glue in my handbag. Might just keep it in there, just, you know, just in case of puzzle headband emergencies in the future. I would love to show you a picture of Sarah, but unfortunately I didn't take a picture with her, and I asked her if she had a picture and she didn't take any pictures of herself either. She has provided a little bit of the footage in this video though, because she took some pictures of the sports hall and things, so I have asked if she would mind me using those, and she graciously agreed. So I am sort of mentioning her verbally, but unfortunately I can't show you a picture of Sarah. But thank you again, Sarah, for saving my headband. I really did appreciate that. So once we'd looked around and figured things out in the actual building itself, The next step for me really was to make sure that my kids were going to be okay while I was in there puzzling. And I also knew that I was going to be doing a little bit of commentary, so I was going to be in there for a fair amount of time. I just wanted to make sure they were okay. Thankfully, there was a little place called The Cabin nearby. It was like a little cafe that sold snacks and drinks. And I'd been told that in the local area, there were plenty of places where you could go and get food and takeaways. So I made sure my kids had money. I equipped them with Google Maps and I said, find somewhere to go eat and go and enjoy something to eat. And actually they did. They managed to find a Taco Bell, which they were delighted by because we don't have Taco Bells up here in Stirling. So they were happy, which suits me down to the ground. With them sorted, I then decided to go down to the hall and take my place at my table. Now, at this point, I did not know where I was going to be sitting, and that is where this handy QR code that I mentioned earlier on my lanyard came in. If you scanned it, it would tell you what your table number was. Now, I believe, if recollection serves me correctly, it was table 20, I think. And so I went and found table 20, which was just about 3 rows back-ish from the front on the sort of left-hand side as you look down from the viewing gallery. Here's some pictures. My daughter and son actually did stand up there and watch me puzzle for a little bit. And my daughter, without me having to ask her, she took some photos, which was brilliant. So also need to thank my daughter for some of this footage as well. Now, the lady on the table next to me was already sitting there when I arrived. And that was a lovely lady called Manisha who recognised me. And she actually said to me that she had done the 5,000 piece Pokemon puzzle that I recently live streamed, and I was really pleased to hear that. And it wasn't the first time that that puzzle actually came up in conversation with people. Quite a few people, it turns out, have done that puzzle, so I was really thrilled to hear that. It was lovely that so many people puzzled along with me on that. So yeah, Manisha, she said hi, we were having a wee chat, we were talking about puzzles that we'd done and that we'd enjoyed, and we were talking about how we were feeling. We were both feeling excited and nervous, speculating, I'm sure, like everybody else, what the puzzles could be and who the artists could be. If you watched my video that I brought out prior to this one, it was a speed puzzle practice video, and I was practicing a lot of UK artists because I knew it was going to be artists from the UK. So it was really lovely to be sitting next to Manisha and to meet her. She'd also just very recently joined my Discord server, so I recognised her name, and it was really nice to be able to put a face to a name, another face to another name. And she kindly provided this photograph of her with her pairs partner, Karina. So that was Manisha. And actually, fun fact, when I messaged her to ask her if she had a picture of her, because this was another person that I hadn't had a picture taken with, I took pitifully few pictures at this event because I was so into what I was doing and enjoying it that I was forgetting to take footage. So thank you, Manisha, for providing that photo. But fun fact, when she replied to the message and sent me the photo to use, she said, I've just discovered that your birthday is the same as my birthday. We share birthdays. So that was crazy. It's like small world. But then we weren't sure maybe if that was why we'd ended up sitting next to each other, because we were also sat beside each other during the pairs competition. So I don't know if that has any bearing on the way they seated people. But anyway, yeah. See, she's like my birthday twin. So anyway, back to the competition. I set up my phone stand so that I could film myself doing the puzzle, when I will show you that footage shortly. And then once I'd done that, I sat and I stared at the Ravensburger bag, wishing I had X-ray vision. It was your typical blue bag that we've seen many, many times. Here it is, just hanging off my shelf there. I do not know how many of these bags I have now, quite a few. Brought a few home from Worlds in 2023. And then the opening presentation started. Annika said hi to everybody. She introduced the 2 puzzle artists who we knew were UK artists. I had never heard of them before, and so I knew instantly that I had not practiced any of their puzzles. Georgia Breeze, who did the artwork for the individuals puzzle, it turns out has done a couple of other puzzle artwork for Ravensburger. Stuart Matthews, who did the pairs puzzles, we knew who he was, but we didn't know what his puzzle looked like yet. This was his first artwork for a puzzle and at all. So there was no way we were going to be able to practice any of his artwork. So they were very clever there. There was no way we could have really prepared for this. So, but that's, you know, that's a really good thing. It certainly levels out the playing field when nobody has seen the puzzles before. So that, I believe, is a good thing. And I just think it's fabulous that they were UK artists that did the puzzles for the first UK championships. It seems very apt to do it that way. So because Georgia was the artist responsible for the individuals puzzle, she did the countdown and she counted down from 5, and the moment she said puzzle, that was when we were allowed to open our bags and pull it out and start puzzling. Now, just going over briefly the rules of the competition, they were pretty standard as they are with other competitions. They had cut the adhesive stickers on the box lids so we could just whip the box lid off without having to pickle at the stickers. It was inside the bag. We obviously weren't allowed to touch it until they said puzzle. Once it was out, we had 2.5 hours to finish the puzzle. Now that was something that was a little bit different. Usually the standard is about 1.5 hours. I was aiming to finish mine within the 1.5 hours, but we did have longer than that to actually finish these puzzles. The same rule applied as like with Worlds, where 3 assembled pieces would count towards the completed puzzle. So if you hadn't finished towards the end, you would count up the loose pieces. Any 3 that were together or more counted as part of the completed puzzle. If we dropped a piece on the floor, or a piece fell or got left in the bag or something like that, the volunteers, if they spotted them, were allowed to put a wee post-it note beside them. They weren't supposed to touch them and put them on our table or anything like that. But that was in case, you know, you got to the end, you realised you had a missing piece. If you look down, there might be a post-it there so you could easily find it. So that was really quite a good thing, I thought, as well. Thankfully, I didn't have that happen to me, so I didn't need that, but that was something that the volunteers would do as well. But for now, the time had come to start our puzzles. So here is my footage. Okay, so there's a very slight delay at the beginning, which was kind of ramping up my nerves a little bit, but I was poised, standing up and ready to go, and eventually the countdown began.
Okay, good luck everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, puzzle!
Alright, so here is the puzzle for the individual competition. It is called Time for Tea, and it is basically a collage of teapots, teacups, sugar pots, tea tins, and all things tea related. So very, very British. It even had a teacup with the Union Jack on it. So that made me smile, but it was completely not what I was expecting. I think having practiced lots of puzzle artists that do outdoor scenes, I just kind of thought it was going to be an outdoor scene, or maybe that's just what I was hoping for because I'd practiced so many. But I wasn't panicked by the image. I didn't think, oh Lord, this is going to be terribly hard. I just kind of was like, oh, okay, this is nice, very British. And I just got on with it. So you can see I am flipping, separating the edges out. That's what that little pile is there. What I tend to do is as I'm flipping, if I find an edge, I'll just grab it in my hand until I've got too many to hold, and then I will pop them to the side and just kind of repeat the process. So I'm going through flipping them all, and it's all fine at the moment. It's going pretty well. I'm trying to, at this point, just think about how I might approach it and things like that. So yeah, I was just I'd settled on my normal way of doing it as I'd practiced, flip the pieces. I decided I wasn't going to start with the edge. and put together pots, put together whatever jumped out at me. So it's all speeding up a little bit here, and you can see that I don't know exactly how long it took me to flip. I didn't glance up at the timer. There was a timer on the wall. I never have a timer beside me on the table when I am at in-person speed puzzle competitions because I find it off-putting, and it's something that I don't really want to distract me. I'd just rather not have an awareness of the time. So yeah, you can see, and I think probably a lot of people went for the red pot first, the one at the bottom. I also picked out the blue. There were some blue teapots that jumped out at me, blue stripy cup and a blue teapot. A lot of the teapots had matching cups, but they weren't necessarily next to each other. So that threw me as well. And I very quickly realized that this puzzle wasn't going to be easy. I had lots of little islands coming together, which is in the nature, I guess, of a collage puzzle. But another thing I was also noticing was that I had a very small amount of room to actually puzzle in. It was so tiny, the space, or at least it felt that way when all my pieces were flipped. I suppose in hindsight, looking at this, I could have had some pieces along the top. There's a bit of a gap there. I've got them mostly on my left side. And yeah, so I'm getting a little bit in my own way, but I really wish we could have had just that little bit more room. I felt like space management was a bit of an issue here. And yeah, but the pots were coming together, the cups were coming together. They were just all over the show. So yeah, that was difficult. It was quite hard to manage. Now, from partway through this, I actually realised that I'd sort of, stuff wasn't jumping out at me. When I'd done the really obvious things, the dark pots, the big pots, the really obvious kind of patterned teacups, when I'd done all of those, I realised there was nothing jumping out at me and a heck of a lot of flowers. And I was like, well, I can pull out flowers. And then I was like, no, there are just so many flower patterns on here. And a lot of them were very similar colours. So it got to the point basically where it became very much a pick and place effort, very much referring to the box often, trying to figure out which pot the pieces that I'd picked up went with. And yeah, I think I've started putting in a few edges here. I avoided the edges at first because I figured there would be quite a lot of white space with the edges. There wasn't actually as much as I initially thought there were going to be in hindsight with that, but I was putting it in kind of as I went along. And yeah, just putting together as many as I could, linking the islands together as much as I could, and trying to put them in some semblance of the right order. But yeah, it was tough. The thing I was finding tough here was space management. I really was struggling for room to try and move things around. But I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the challenge. I had no idea how I was doing. Time-wise, I just immersed myself into it and just got on with it. That's crazy that somebody's finished on. Alright, so as you see, I had to try it again at home. But this time I wanted to use the pick and place method from the start. So what do I mean by pick and place? Some also call it the Where's Waldo method. It really just means that you pick the pieces out and you find where they go and place them where they go. It's a good method for busy puzzles like this one, since building them often involves a lot of looking at the box anyway. The useful thing about the pick and place method is that there is no flipping to be done. It does feel a little bit messy at first, and I'm personally not used to puzzling that way, let alone speed puzzling that way. I definitely think that if I had practiced that method before, my time could have been just a little bit faster. But as it is, I improved on my time by 13 minutes and 26 seconds. Now, there is no doubt that it being a second build helped, although it has been a fortnight since I built it, so it wasn't fresh, if you see what I mean. I think the pick and place method helped, but I also think that although I tried to keep the build within the same confines as I had at the competition, it all just felt a bit more roomy in here, and I think that helped a little bit as well. Having said that though, the pick and place method doesn't really require that you have a lot of space because you don't have the pieces all spread out and flipped over. So in that sense, the pick and place method was also a really good thing for that puzzle and that particular place. Anyway, I was really happy with the second time and the improvement, and indeed I was happy with the first time. I managed to do it within my goal of 90 minutes and I landed 62nd place with that time out of 172 people. So that is not too bad at all. Now with that puzzle done, I was going to be reporting to the commentator's desk pretty soon, but I wanted to go and see how my kids were doing first. Turns out they had been watching me a little from the balcony. When I finished my puzzle, I got a text message from Freya saying, "Look up and to your left," and there they were standing there waving at me. And they had also thought about me when I was puzzling, and they handed me some chocolate and a can of Coke when I came out, which I actually didn't realise I really needed. That is one thing I find with puzzle competitions, especially ones that take up a good part of the day. You get so immersed and busy with the puzzling and with meeting people and doing all the things, you know, that come with a puzzling event like this, that you kind of forget that, you know, you don't really have a lot of time to eat. And it wasn't until they handed me the food I was like, oh yeah, I really am actually quite thirsty and hungry. So I was hugely appreciative of their consideration of that. And they had been fine while I was in there puzzling. So reassured, I went back into the sports hall and I joined Aaron at the commentary table. Aaron is a guy who I'd never met before that day, and he, I believe, is the co-founder of Puzzle Guzzle, which runs online competitions here in the UK. So it was really fun talking with him on the commentary. We chatted about our experience of the puzzle, which was largely the same. We both started with that red pot. We both struggled to find the cups we were looking for and things, and we both found space management to be a little bit of an issue with that puzzle as well. Another thing we actually both found when we were doing that puzzle is that it was something that didn't necessarily speed up the further towards the end you got. You would have gaps all over the puzzle, and even though you only had a few pieces left, it still wasn't necessarily easy figuring out which piece went where. So it was just funny that we'd shared a lot of kind of the same experiences with the puzzle. And so we were chatting about that. Now, by the time I reached the commentary table, there were a lot fewer puzzlers still puzzling. And so I was able to get more of a sense of all the different puzzlers. I think it became easier for the cameramen to maneuver around the room. There were only 2 cameras on the floor that day, so it probably was quite difficult, I would imagine, to get around everybody and also to move around in the hall when it was full. So I got quite a good sense of, you know, the puzzlers that were remaining and how they were all doing, and I really enjoyed my wee stint at commentary. I couldn't see the live chat at the time, but I did have a look at it afterwards, and I really appreciate the support from everyone who said hi to me. There was some talk about it in my Discord server afterwards as well, and I was really touched. by what everyone was saying about my commentary, and I'm just really glad that you enjoyed it. So thank you for all your support in the live chat. I also, when I was doing the commentary, got to see my pairs partner in action doing his puzzle. That's my pairs partner, Chris, who's on the screen right now.
Excellent.
Yeah,
he's not that far away. He's been nice and organised and shape sorted, which might be a good sign for you for later.
Yes, absolutely. He can be in charge of that.
He can be in charge of sorting for
yes.
you. I'm very much on upside down duties for pairs later, which I prefer. I prefer it. It means I've got less pressure on me. I can use excuses then.
I don't mind really either way, but Chris said he was quite good at Sky, so if there's a puzzle with Sky, then he can do the upside down bit. But yeah, I mean, it could be vertical. You don't know, do you? Then there's no upside down for anybody.
I'm sure.
So that was great too, and I really was just sending out encouraging vibes and thoughts to everyone still puzzling at the end and just willing them to finish within the allotted time. And I was so happy when people did, especially those who had just seconds to spare.
Oh, he's got, 6 pieces left to go in?
Oh, come on, you can
I can watch her own, but I don't need that lady's on the left as well, but she should also get in. It's getting close.
It is going to be close. Oh, Rowan's going to finish. Is Rowan going to finish?
Yeah, he's going to finish.
Yay!
Oh, there's some sneaky hidden pieces just off camera as well.
Like, where is the gap? That's how I was.
Exactly.
Where's the gap?
That's it. Surely that's it. No, he's got a piece in his hand. Can't find it.
Oh, come on.
I can't see it on camera. Maybe he has. He's just got a bonus piece.
It could be.
I think it's just a bonus piece. I can't see a hole on the shot. Oh, there is one. It is on the far side. Brilliant.
It's hard to spot them sometimes.
10 seconds. She's got 4 pieces.
And speaking of finishers, let's talk about the winners, shall we? So the winner was Emma Quirk from Ireland, who I just mentioned and met earlier in that day. She did it in a time of 41 minutes and 55 seconds. Second place was Rachel Chambers, who did it in 48 minutes and 33 seconds. And third place was Sarah Mills, who managed to finish it in 50 minutes and 59 seconds. What incredible times for that puzzle, and really well done to everyone. It was not an easy puzzle to speedrun at all. But I loved the artwork by Georgia Breeze. I think it's such a cute puzzle. I'm so glad I have it. And I have a signed copy of it too, so that's even more special. So having seen the solos round through to its conclusion, there was not a great deal of time before the pairs competition was due to start. Proceedings were running a little bit late, but not by very much, and I realised that I had not done a lot of things I still wanted to do. I'd not looked at the merch table. I'd pre-ordered a hoodie. I'd not picked that up yet. I'd not been around the pop-up shop really and seen what they had. I'd not met the artist yet. And by the time I had done having a drink and chatting with my kids, my pairs partner Chris was seeking me out. So I'd actually already met Chris in person before the individuals event started. But it did take me a while to find him. Kieran, who I'd bumped into a few times throughout the day, walked past me and said that he'd seen him upstairs. He was wearing a hat and a grey t-shirt. So up the stairs we went, and after Freya had pointed out about 8 people wearing hats, none of them being Chris, I realised that it could take a while, but eventually I found him, and we'd had a very brief chat before we went down to do the solos. When he came to see me before the pairs event started, he reminded me that I hadn't actually registered for the pairs yet. I'd only registered for the solos because that's what you did first. And I'd completely forgotten about registering for the pairs. So he offered to go down and register for us both. Unfortunately, it was under my name and he didn't know my surname. They'd asked him what my surname was. And I believe his words were, I don't know, make some builds. Which I thought was hilarious. I should probably just change my surname to that. Anyway, long story short, he managed to register us for the pairs, and then he came back up and we had time to get a few pictures inside the Ravensburger frame before we then went down and found our table for the pairs. So we were table 20 for the pairs, and I knew I had that number in my head for some reason. So Chris also has a YouTube channel, The Hobby Mad Dad. So we talked a little bit about who was going to film the footage of us doing the puzzle, because we both wanted to have footage of it for videos. We agreed that it would be pointless both of us having camera stands set up, so we used my camera stand, but we used his phone. I think he has a slightly more modern Apple device than I do, so we used his phone to get the footage and we used my camera stand, and then he just shared it with me afterwards. I once again said hello to Manisha, who was also sitting beside me for the pairs competition. And then we basically just sat and talked strategy. Now, this was Chris's first speed puzzling competition and his first time speed puzzling as a pair. So I gave what little advice I could from my experience having puzzled with Donna Louise and Jeanette and Juby in the Worlds. And really it consisted of just keeping communication going throughout the build. So saying what you were working on in the puzzle so that I could hand him pieces of things he was working on and vice versa. Saying that what we were building so that we didn't both automatically go for the same pieces and try to grab the same ones. We had established also that if this was a puzzle with a sky, that Chris would do the upside down view of the puzzle because he felt like he was good at the sky. Well, neither of us really minded who did the puzzle upside down. And as it turned out, there was a sky in this puzzle. So we'd agreed that. We also agreed that he would open the puzzle up, open the bag, pull the pieces out, and I would put the box lid on the stand. And then we also agreed that we would flip the pieces and separate the edges. And that's about as far as our planning went. So here is the footage of the pairs puzzle. So we started our puzzling and Chris was at the top of the puzzle doing the sky. I was working on the red. That jumped out at me first of all, and that just happened to be at the bottom of the puzzle. So a lot of the areas I was putting together were at the bottom and Chris's areas were at the top. So we were sort of just working on the two halves. Eventually the puzzle came together. We sort of felt like we needed to attach the two edges and make the puzzle whole so that we could figure out what we had space left for and things. We had pieces everywhere, so we could have done with maybe organising the pieces a little better, but it went fine. I really felt like the puzzle came together really quite smoothly, and the only part that really I felt was a challenge was the brown brick pieces. So here we go with the second go on this, and I was doing it solo because I didn't have a pairs partner to do it with. I enjoyed it once again just as much as I did the first time. I really did like this puzzle. I sorted it this time and I felt like that worked really well as well. So there we have it, and the pairs puzzle was done, and I was really happy with the redo time. With both puzzles, I tried to do something different on the rebuild. With the individuals puzzle, I did pick and place because I genuinely believe that to be a really good build for this type of puzzle. And with the Harbour puzzle, I tried sorting. It seemed to come together quite well with both methods, to be honest, so I'm not really sure which one was better, but a time of 1 hour, 8 minutes and 11 seconds was a really good time, I think, for the rebuild on that, especially when you consider that I did it in just over an hour as a pair, and the hour and 8 minutes was as an individual. And oddly enough, my time doing the pairs puzzle solo was faster than my time doing the individuals puzzle solo for the second time. Now, I actually said this during the commentary and I still stand by it, especially given these two times on my rebuilds. I honestly think these two puzzles would have worked well if they were swapped around, so that the tea puzzle was a pairs puzzle and the Harbour puzzle was an individuals puzzle. So, to explain my reasoning here, this is what I said during my commentary on the live stream. This would have made a good pairs puzzle.
Oh,
I think.
yes and no. It's one of those where
Well,
yes, because you could just go off and build whatever you want and pull it.
Yeah, because, you know, people could build...
Yeah.
Maybe if the pots were bigger,
Yeah,
perhaps. Because you get, like, one person focus on one set of patterns and another on another. But I find with, like, the team puzzle that I did at Worlds... in the final, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was like a collage and loads of people, and they were all wearing different coloured jumpers.
Yeah.
But actually, it worked for a team because it meant
You could just pick
you
a
weren't
colour
all
or-
concentrated in one area, and there were
Yeah.
kind of loads of hands in one area. It was a case
Yeah.
of, right, I'll work on this pattern, and I'll do those patterns. And some puzzles kind of work for multiple pairs of hands,
and some don't work so well.
Just a thought. What do you think? I would be interested to hear your comments on that. Whether you attended the competition or not, if the puzzles were swapped around in the categories, would that have worked better, do you think? Food for thought. Answers in the comments. So, as you saw, we were so very close to cracking the hour. We missed it by just 19 seconds, and Charlie, who you will recognise as the announcer from Worlds, and who attended the UK Nationals. It was great to see you, by the way, Charlie. He wrote down our time for us, and he said, I was willing you to finish before the hour. It was not to be, but I was actually over the moon with that time. And it put us 54th in the rankings out of 161 people. I think we did an amazing job, and especially when you consider that Chris had never speed puzzled at a competition before that day, and we had never puzzled at all together. And I just want now to take the opportunity to say thank you so much to Chris for being my pairs partner and puzzling with me. It was so great to meet you, and I had a lot of fun puzzling with you, so thank you. After that, we packed up our things and we left the hall. I was keen to go and find my kids and do the things that I hadn't yet had time to do. So first off, the kids and I went and stood in line to have my puzzles signed by the artists. I'm going to talk about that a little more shortly, but first let's have a look at the top 3 in the pairs category. In first place with a time of 30 minutes and 30 seconds is Sarah Mills and Claire Hayes. In second place with a time of 34 minutes and 48 seconds was Rachel Chambers and Sammy Stoney. And in third place with a time of 35 minutes and 12 seconds are Karen and Verena Klauser. Hopefully I've pronounced that surname right. Amazing times. Simply amazing. And just to say here that the UK Jigsaw Puzzle Association have a link for their results on their side of things, but they are also up on the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation website as well. If you want to have a look at them, I will put both links in the description. But now it was time for me to have a look around upstairs, properly this time, and without rushing around. Now, the desk that the artists were sitting at was right beside the merch desks, and the lines for both of them were next to each other, and they kind of had morphed into one line. I was near at the end of the artist line, but sort of near the beginning of the merch line. So I thought, well, I might as well grab this opportunity to pick up my hoodie that I had pre-ordered. And it is this one here that I'm wearing. It has the UKJPA logo here on the front, and there's also a logo, bigger logo on the back. Freya asked if she could have a t-shirt. She wanted a pink one, so I bought her that, and on a whim I also decided to get one for myself. Here it is. It has got the UK Jigsaw Puzzle Association logo on the front, and on the back it says United Kingdom Jigsaw Puzzle National Championship, UK Nationals 2025, and it's got the date and the place there, and it has a jigsaw piece with the Union Jack in the middle of it, and it's also got the Ravensburger logo on the sleeve, so it's a nice t-shirt. I got chatting with some lovely ladies whilst I was standing in the line as well. There was a girl called Martha who had introduced herself to me earlier on that day. Hello, Martha. And there was another pair of ladies who said hi, and whose names I either can't remember or that I never actually found out. I do apologise if I have forgotten your names. But in any case, it was lovely to meet you as well. And it was turning out that queuing up for things was just a really good way of chatting and meeting people. Eventually I reached the artists, they signed my puzzle boxes and chatted with me. Georgia Breeze has also done these puzzles by Ravensburger, and Stuart Matthews had not had any professionally released artwork prior to this jigsaw puzzle by Ravensburger. So it was really special to get one of the first copies of it and have it signed, and it really was a privilege to meet them both. The Harbour puzzle is purported to be the first in a series of crazy street puzzles, so I am really looking forward to seeing what else is going to come from him and from Ravensburger. Lastly, I picked up this puzzle from the Ravensburger pop-up shop. I had expected to buy more, and I was very tempted by the Dulk 500-piece puzzles and also the 750-piece square puzzles. However, I left the Dulk puzzles because I was under the impression that they were large format piece puzzles, which I'm not a huge fan of. But I have since discovered that whilst they do have slightly larger pieces, they aren't as large as true large format piece puzzles. And their square shape, I think, makes the overall area of the puzzle bigger. The 750-piece puzzles are much the same. And so it is my intention eventually to get some of those and just try them out for size, literally. I also couldn't decide on which image I liked the best for the 750-piece puzzles, and I really didn't have much room in my case for many puzzles to take back with me anyway. So I stuck with this one, a 500-piece puzzle called Excalibur Forest, and this will make a great practice puzzle in the run-up to Worlds. And the last thing in the goodie bag of things that I brought back with me are these hats. I got two. They have the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship logo on them because Charlie, who I mentioned earlier, came over and handed one each to Jasper and to Freya. Now, Freya, she liked hers, she wore hers, but Jasper, he said yes, but then he refused to put it on. So I kind of just sort of stole it. So now I'm just going to wear it, I think. So thank you so much, Charlie, for our lovely WJPC hats. And that's it. I met lots of other people as well. I met Scarlett, who has her own YouTube channel, and I actually got a photo with Scarlett, one of the few I managed to get with somebody. I also met a lady called Michelle, who also has her own YouTube channel. In fact, I shared a very brief hello with Michelle in the bathroom, but didn't get a great deal of chance to chat with her. She has shared her experience of the UK Nationals in a video over on her channel. It's a really fun video, and I will link it in my description. I'll also link Scarlett's video on the Nationals as well as Chris's, the Hobby Mad Dads, and my pairs partner. He's done his video as well. A chap called John came to say hello to me as well during the raffle and the awards ceremony. John I knew from my Discord server, and also Laura was another. So many people. It was so lovely to meet you all, and I really hope I haven't forgotten or missed anybody out. I also met Charlotte from Ravensburger for the first time. We had spoken before, but this was the first time we actually met in person. It was lovely to meet you too, Charlotte, and I just want to now take this opportunity to say thank you so much to you and all of your lovely team at Ravensburger UK for helping to make the day as special as it was. The puzzles are beautiful, and I just love the UKJPA logos on the boxes as well. Just to say now that you can get hold of these puzzles. They are selling bundles on the UK Ravensburger website. You get the two puzzles, you get a water bottle, and you get a lovely colourful bag. I really wish we'd had those bags in the competition. We just got the blue ones, the colourful. And I'm not going to buy the bundle because I already have the puzzles, but it means I'm missing out on the colourful bag. Still, I did get my colourful box lid holder, so that is something. But I will leave a link in my description for that bundle on the UK Ravensburger site if you're interested in getting that and trying the puzzles yourself. And then there were a whole bunch of people that I was meeting for a second or third time. It was a pleasure to see Nikki and Pete again, Charlie, James and his daughter Cassia, Siobhan and Francis, SJ and Dan, Jason and Annika, and a special mention to Annika who organised all of this. It was such a great day and it went so well. I was thrilled to hear from Annika too that plans are in the works to have regional competitions here in the UK. So that's Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and that got me really excited. And of course, I will be lobbying to have the Scottish competition here in Stirling, so I don't have to get on any trains. Once I'd done everything I wanted to get done upstairs, the kids were starting to get just a little bit impatient by this point, but I wanted to stay and see the prize giving. Unfortunately, I didn't record any of that, but it was lovely to see the winners go and get their prizes. And then just like that, it was all over. We helped pack away a few chairs and we said our goodbyes. The day just seemed to fly by and I had such a great time. The highlights for me had to be all of the people I met. Thank you so much for coming to say hi to me, and I'm sorry if I have missed anybody out. I think I've caught everybody, but I didn't actually catch everybody's names and I tried my hardest to remember. But it was just so lovely to meet so many people, new as well as people I've met before. And another highlight for me was doing the commentary. I really have fun doing the commentary. So thanks Annika for letting me do some of that as well. Of course, I loved the puzzling and the puzzles. It was a beautiful sunny day as well, and everything just came together to make the day really special. I can't wait till next year, and I especially can't wait to see a competition come up here to Scotland. The rest of the weekend really for me was for resting and for travelling home. We all slept well that night and had a scrummy breakfast the next morning before it was back on the train home. Thankfully, it was the start of the Easter holidays for us up here in Scotland, so we were all able to recuperate from our long journey and enjoy a few days off. And that's about all, folks. I hope that you enjoyed that recap of my adventures at the UK Nationals 2025. Please drop a like on the video if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Please check out my description for links on other videos that I've done on this, as well as videos from other YouTubers, links to the bundle over on the Ravensburger UK site, and also to the results. Also, please don't forget to leave your comments. I am going to leave it there for just now. Thank you for watching, everyone. Happy puzzling, and I will see you next time. Bye!